All right, let's get back to it. 3 more games to get through where the difference was just one. Let's start with Chicago Red Stars versus OL Reign. 1-0 in this match. To go ahead and take a look at the difference. All 3 points for Chicago, just on 1 goal. I think we got different things to talk about when it comes to these two teams going head to head. Chicago Red Stars, I think this is the game where maybe I really got to ask you, Lisa, about the starting 11s more than anything else, because
Completely.
the Red Stars find themselves in the full swing of their kind of heavy match load portion of their schedule, going up against an all rain side that are coming off of a regular full week of preparation. But there are some player rotations coming into play for the Chicago Red Stars because of their current scheduling. And you have an all rain side with, quite frankly, just an incredibly talented roster that also has a lot of experience on it as well. And I think in this one, we have to note that. We have to note that for the Red Stars, they had a ton of first-year players going into this match against OL Reign.
Completely. I mean, starting lineups, when we look at OL Reign, no Jess Fishlock, no Megan Rapinoe. So those were big losses. I think Jess Fishlock, a little bit more surprising to me than Megan Rapinoe, who's been in and out, most recently out with a bit of a back injury. But for Chicago, Mallory Pugh getting the start. We talked about her getting limited minutes in the midweek action, coming off the bench. And I think we both dubbed that she would get the start in this match. But Ava Cook, Griffith, Aguilera, really impressive and fun to watch these young players in this league. I mean, Ava Cook, I'm blown away by this player. I am loving watching how she's playing, her movement off the ball, her ability to combine with Pugh. It's interesting because it's like the Pugh game for Chicago. When you look at the stats, right? She scores the goal. She's the one that got the game winner here for Chicago, but it's so many other pieces around Pugh that are bringing it all together. And a huge part of that goes for the rookies. And then when you look in the midfield at, Colaprico, who's helping hold this team together as a veteran on this side, who can really lead all these rookies and what they're doing in these young players. But the goal from Pugh, I mean, she had a number of opportunities, but it was the opening seconds of the second half. And that's a way to come out of the locker room, right? And for OL Reign defensively, their first mistake, which is the only mistake you can't make against Mallory Pugh, is letting her out of your eyesight, because that's what happened. They were marking her. The ball was played in and around, and then it went to the other side, and you just see Pugh float away from the Reign defender, and she becomes wide open. And when you give her that much space, which is not that much, it's about half a yard, but that's too much space for Pugh. She can get the ball, and she's so composed, and she can finish those types of balls. She looked like so casual finishing this ball. It was a beauty. It was really such a nice goal from Mallory Pugh.
I love the goal too. I was covering this game in the press box and watching it live. There were a couple things that were like running through my head as I was sort of taking all this in. It was that we're still seeing some of the same issues, some of the same problems for OL Reign in terms of their attack and their finishing. And we're seeing the continuity for Mal Pugh and sort of being this kind of elite player for a team like the Red Stars, a team that has come into 2022 with a ton of first-year players. We're talking players who were selected in the draft, players who went undrafted and just got, called into the Red Stars, and other players who are maybe not, are still getting up to speed to the level of play in terms of NWSL. And just sort of seeing this, I was also very excited to watch OL Reign live, because I had the same sentiments watching them last year. It was like, we're gonna get a chance to see somebody like a Les Sommer, or somebody like a Jennifer Marozan or Bouadi, etc. Right? But I still had that same feeling around this team watching them this year. I still think the Reign are, in terms of the talent across the roster, is one of one of the most talented squads in the league. And I think even with their starting 11 without a Fishlock, it was pretty strong starting lineup to have on the road
Yeah.
against Chicago. But I think maybe something interesting to note is that this is a rain side, and Laura Harvey too. Under Laura Harvey, they've struggled a little bit at times in Bridgeview at SeatGeek Stadium. There, the record's not particularly great for that, but it was something I was curious is if maybe that's out the window with this type of roster and the talent that they have on it. But we saw from the rain trying to make things happen, and maybe people didn't see this on the stream, but looking at even just
stream was a little hard to see at
just
times.
seeing the kickoff from my perspective of the press box. You saw OL Reign line up over the ball and get ready to kick off, and they overloaded the left side. They had 3 players. It was Lavelle, Latsko. It was their front 3. And it was like, well, maybe they're gonna just, and they did. They tried to lob it really quickly and generate, but didn't work out. And it just, I think you have to give some of these first year players a big chunk of credit. I had to shout out Gio Aguilera in this one, a rookie just getting, I think, second regular season start. That's a tall order to be tasked to mark a player like Sofia Huerta. And watching this sort of kind of collective effort to kind of isolate her a little bit from the game, I think sort of paid dividends in that first half, especially because when you go into a second half 0-0, at this point it's anyone's game in the second half. And I think to have Mal Pugh just sort of do what she did very early in that second half, I think only benefits a team like the Red Stars who are trying to, who are on short rest in this one. It was a quick turnaround, having to go through some player rotation of their own, and then go ahead and be able to sort of get this result. I think if you're one of the young rookies of the Red Stars, you should be really, really proud of this result, because we're talking about these couple performances from going up against the Thorns, then going up against Washington Spirit, and now going against OL Reign. These were all very competitive matches that we saw from these Red Stars, despite some of the results.
Yeah, incredibly competitive. I honestly was very pleased with what I saw, and I don't think we give enough credit to Fallon Tillis-Joy's goalkeeper for OL Reign, because this game easily could have been 3-0 for Chicago. And Fallon Tillis-Joyce just really did a nice job stepping up, making huge saves, which is frankly what she's done throughout this entire season. And that's why she's been so good. 6 saves against Chicago in this match. But yeah, I mean, so much credit to Chris Petroselli and what he's been able to do with young players at Chicago and bring them in, get them bought into the type of game that Chicago wants to play, despite having a lot of rotation in their players. But yeah, I liked this game. There was a bit of technical difficulties on the Twitch stream. It was a Twitch exclusive for this one.
I kept seeing reaction.
I was chatting with, I knew you were at the game, and I was chatting with our social media manager, and I was like, is it me? How's your internet? How's my internet? What's happening here? But second half was much better with that. So I'm glad you were at the game so we could get some in-depth analysis about how the teams were lining up. So thank you, Sandra.
It was just something that was like curious. I was like, that's very, very curious. I was like, oh, they're going to overside this overload the left side here, but it just I don't know if they just got away from that a little bit. Maybe thought that they were able to, go ahead and dictate some things, wide and through the middle at times. But it just wasn't happening for them. It just it's another one of these matches where you're seeing the buildup from this team and the finishing even there. But even within this game, I think we weren't necessarily even seeing that from the Reign either. I mean, the Red Stars limited the Reign to 1 shot on goal in this match with over 5 total attempts in the game. So it's just I think you could see the frustration. I think it seemed like the Reign's kind of post game and sort of seeing that they just weren't happy with the result in this one. I think if you're the team coming in with the full week of preparation and rest, you wanna take it to the other team that's on, a quick turnaround with heavy legs and first year players. But I love that. I was in the press box watching the game, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun for me. Lisa to talk about, because I think this we both finally win like Chicago in this one. Although I was like nervous, I'm like, well,
We
it
did.
could maybe hell, it could maybe be a draw. And for OL Reign, I think they just did it a little. They figured it out a little too late. I think in this game, because we saw a lot of promising things. I think in the wider spaces for the Reign, but down the end of the stretch, and they just, quite frankly, I think ran out of time. So congrats to all those first year Red Stars getting a win
Heck yeah.
against a pretty talented team. Another game that had a narrow scoreline: Gotham FC versus Washington Spirit. Gotham taking all 3 points in this one. 1-0 with a goal from Midge Purse. I think we're going to echo maybe some similar sentiments here. Lisa, I just want to start. Let's just start talking about it right here from the jump before we actually get into the game stuff. The Spirit have had quite the match load to begin 2022. And getting to see this match, it just, I think we're still seeing how kind of exhausted this team is. And it's getting a little tough. I think if it's hard for them to play, I think it's starting to get a little tough to even watch.
Yeah, I mean, and they're not done. They still have a game on Wednesday coming up. They play again in 2 days time, 3 days time. It is tough to see kind of what has happened with this Washington Spirit side. And also they before this match, there was a bit of an availability report that came out for these sides, and Washington was hit with a little bit of COVID protocol, and then some other players out, knowing like Kelly O'Hara was still listed as out. There was just a number of rotational players there. Trinity Rodman not on the not on a substitute list. This is the first game that she didn't start for the Red Star or for Washington. And because of that, I mean, this poor Washington team, right? They've just been hit and hit and hit and hit. And honestly, it's not done because they play again on Wednesday. And I think that's hurting them. Even towards the end of this match, you could hear Chris Ward on the stream saying, like, when is the game done? How much time is left? What's happening? Because as a player like Andy Sullivan coming back from a bit of an injury and now getting consistent minutes and having to be a player to step up and play all of these minutes is hard on her. And when we look at Hatch and Sanchez, I mean, Hatch getting a 90-minute game, like this is rough. This is a rough time for Washington. They're almost done this stretch, but I mean, I'm happy for Gotham to take advantage of the tired legs of Washington and be able to get a goal and get a win, because that Gotham needed that. I mean, neither of us had Gotham winning this game. No. I had this listed as a draw, or excuse me, I had Washington in this one, and you had it listed as a draw. I thought Washington was going to squeak it out, but Margaret Purse, she gets a goal for Gotham, which was a long time coming for Margaret Purse and a long time coming for Gotham.
Yeah, something, an angle that, again, that we were talking about during the preview is this was Challenge Cup familiarity between these teams. So I think the familiarity between these two teams, having played each other already a couple of times, and knowing that the Spirit were going to have another type of exhaustive game for themselves, was what pushed me towards potentially picking a draw in this one. Kudos to Gotham for playing the game, that the opposition that was in front of them. Listen, this is professional soccer. There's the reality is just that you're not going to get a ton of sympathy if you're the opposition going through something. That's just the truth. Is it true that the Washington Spirit have had a completely exhausting schedule? Yes. Does that mean that the opposition that you face is going to have a pity for you? No, they're not. But that being said, I think we still chat a little bit about Gotham, and that they were not able to maybe stack up at least a couple goals on Washington Spirit in this one. Listen, thrilled for the goal the breakthrough goal that happened for
21st minute. 21st half goal.
I love that it was a bit of a combination or link up with Anamanu and Purse. Love the extended run that Purse was making. I mean, she wanted to make sure that this ball absolutely got back into the net, that she crossed the goal line as well. So I loved that from this Gotham FC side. But I thought maybe there would have been some more for them, but another narrow scoreline in this one, but not for I think lack of effort. I mean, again, we're talking about maybe some of the numbers and bringing the numbers into this match. Double the total shot attempts for Gotham in this one, 14 compared
Mhm.
to 7 from the Spirit. Attempts on goal, 5-2. In comparison to the Spirit, 4 shots that were blocked. So there's some things here where you can see that there was an effort to maybe try to go ahead and take advantage of the fact that there were some tired legs and
Yeah.
some tired players out there. And for the Spirit, uh, quite frankly, I think they're just trying their best to deal with this very, very heavy match load. I mean, we saw minutes for Marissa Sheva in this one, Lisa.
Yeah, I know. Marissa Shiva signed just a few days ago and already on the bench and getting minutes for Washington Spirit. Yeah, Chris Ward's searching for players. Shout out to Marissa Shiva. She's a local Philly gal that I know. So good to see her back in the NWSL. But I want to call out our chat right now. VU, he mentioned, in your guys' opinion, can Washington come back? This is a
Mm,
very long season, and
yeah,
yeah, we have to look at the spell that Washington has gone through these last couple of games. They just lost, and tying the 4 previous before that, it's been a bit of a rough rut
yeah,
for Washington. However, they're still scoring goals, right? I mean, 6 goals for,
yeah,
7 against. Like, they're able to find the back of the net. I think it's a long season, and
yeah,
right now in the standings, Washington number 10, but uh, I- we're starting to see Angel City fall off this
yeah,
high precipice that they were on as an expansion side to start this season. As good as San Diego has been, I don't think they're going to stay at the top of the standings. So like there will be so much rotation that happens with the standings, and it's the top 6 teams that make
yeah,
playoffs. Washington will bounce back. It's a very long season. Yeah,
yeah,
they have international windows where Washington's losing a lot of players, but so are a lot of other teams. I mean, Houston loses a lot of players. There's a lot of players that are coming and going for these international breaks. Washington will be fine. They'll come back from
yeah.
this.
I think it's a fair question to ask. So shout out to VU, but
Totally.
I just think that with the expanded competition this year, with 2 added clubs in Angel City and San Diego, and combine that with the type of history that this league has. I mean, it was already a league with a lot of
Yeah.
parity and being praised as one of the most competitive leagues in the world. And I just think, we go based off of just general history in NWSL, the first half standings of a league table compared to the second half standings of a league table are always completely flipped.
Hmm.
I mean, if we want to just take where Alex Morgan was last year with Orlando Pride, again, had a great run of form in the
Yeah.
beginning of the season for Orlando. I think had her best season with Orlando to date was that final season that she had with them. They went on an impressive 7-game undefeated streak,
Mhm.
and then they turned over in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Had a coaching departure. Players struggled to sort of regenerate that sort of early magic that they were doing on the pitch, and very quickly fell out of playoff contention towards the second half of the season. So it's just one of these things that the first half of seasons always maybe look a little bit different compared to the second half of seasons. And I think that the Spirit have got a pretty heavy match load right now, a tough start to their regular season, but that's not to say that maybe they're going to get some relief
Yeah.
towards the later stage, of that, where it really does kind of come down to those final 6 weeks at times. But it's absolutely something to keep an eye on for sure for the moment. I think for the Gotham side of things, I think maybe you're trying to maybe just sort of stay in the mix like
Yeah.
for right now, when you sort of have that experience in the back of your head when you're maybe looking long term of running a table during a season, where listen, if you just sort of tread water and sort of keep keep pace now, and at the beginning, you can maybe try to really make that streak towards the end. And we saw this Gotham team break through to the playoffs there with a little bit of help on decision day. So we'll see if maybe this is a team, maybe this is a win that perhaps sort of puts in motion some things for this Gotham side, because despite being a narrow scoreline, I liked what we saw from them. I thought maybe there was going to be a second goal at certain points, but it just goes to show maybe even kind of exhausted spirit side, and kind of maybe you have a player like Kingsbury, in goal. It sort of maybe changes some things, I think, in terms of the potential for there to be a lopsided scoreline. But points are points, right? And this one, Gotham
points
got
are
all
points
three of them.
Points are points for sure, but Gotham, their expected goals in this one, 1.46. I think that's the first time it's been over 1 all regular season.
Yeah, that's a very good point to bring up. We'll see if it's
now,
a
they
change
are
in
just
Memphis.
expected goals. I personally don't love the expected goal stat just because it doesn't matter.
I love it. It does matter.
It's hard for my soccer brain to wrap around, because are they actual chances you created? But no, it's like the probability that you're going to score a goal. So like, I'm not a math person. I'm not good at those kinds of stats. As my soccer brain, it's hard for me to wrap around what like an expected goal is. But when I saw that 1.46 for Gotham, first time they were over 1, that was a little bonkers to me. I understood that stat.
You're like, this is that I understand. We're gonna close it out with a draw in this one. The only match that ended up in a draw this weekend, it's Kansas City Current versus San Diego Wave FC, a 2-2 draw. Both clubs splitting the points here in this one. Oh gosh, Kansas City. I thought maybe they were gonna shock some, but maybe make us regret our prediction. I think we both went San Diego in this one.
Yeah, we both had San Diego winning in this match, and honestly, this game was back and forth, right? I mean, Kansas City, they get an opening goal off a corner kick early, 10th minute, 11th minute or so. Kristen Hamilton, she nets this one. It was a short pass from the corner kick, so a redirected corner kick, not directly taken from the corner, which changes the angle and the direction that the ball is coming from, which proves to be a bit difficult for San Diego defense to keep track of. Kaylin Sheridan in goal, struggling a little bit with that as well. But Kristen Hamilton netting a 19th career goal for her. Kansas City going up 1-0. But who else but Alex Morgan getting an equalizer? But she does it in very classic way this year for Alex Morgan. A penalty kick in the 35th minute, a handball in the box. It looked to be Elizabeth Ball for Kansas City. And then Morgan stepping up to take it. That's her 4th penalty kick that she drilled this year. It was her 7th goal. That was her 7th goal in 7 games, her 4th penalty kick. She ends with a brace on the night. Yep. So she's Golden Boot leader right now, 8 goals in 7 games, 4 of those penalty kicks. 4 of the penalty kicks that she scored, she did not draw any of them, but hey, she's still scoring, finding the back of the net. But I think going in at halftime for these two sides, 1-1 for Kansas City and San Diego, was a good scoreline between these two sides based on what we saw. Kansas City having a lot of control, I think, in more ways than just one, in the ways that they were able to press, win the ball, keep possession of it. I saw really good things from Elise Bennett. Man, this player is going places. She is getting better every single week that we're seeing from her. You can tell that she's putting in the time at training and she's wanting to get better. She ends up getting the 2nd goal for Kansas City, her 2nd of the NWSL season. This is also off a corner kick, a short corner kick with Alex Luera. It's played back and then back to Luera, a little 1-2 pass and the change of angle into the box. And Elise Bennett gets on the end of it for Kansas City to go up before Alex Morgan equalizes for the 2nd time in the 89th minute. This time run of play, though, not a penalty kick. But that's
a tough goal to concede, though. I mean, you're talking about closing out a game here. You got to close out this game if you're Kansas City.
It was a turnover. It was a turnover in the midfield, and San Diego went quickly in transition, finding Sophia Jakobsen and a great little ball through to the back post. And Alex Morgan finishing it correctly as she should be doing on that back post, but the giveaway can't happen in the midfield from Kansas City. That hurt.
Can't have a turnover that late in the game.
No.
You're going to get punished in this league, and he got punished by two veterans to do it. Sofia Jakobsen is someone who is new to NWSL, but this is a Swedish international who knows what it means to kind of be in these late game situations. Alex Morgan is on fire right now, so I think it's a tough result to drop. I think at this point you're saying, yes, we've got all 3 points in the bag, and then you just don't anymore. I do love what we saw from Kansas City, and this one I love that the opening goal was kind of attributed to the experience with Labonta to Hamilton. I love that the rookies linked up for the second goal and in Loera to Bennett, and then just to sort of, quite frankly, drop the ball literally in this one, a tough one. But splitting the points, walking away with 8 points, I guess, is better than walking away with no points. But we're seeing these things from Kansas City, and again, another team where we're just like, we really want to see that the Challenge Cup success maybe kind of translate a little bit more. But maybe with that tough May that they had, maybe this is going to be something where they look forward to sort of ironing things out in the remainder of June. But that's it for all of the games that took place over the weekend. Thank you all